Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer for Lipstick.
I'm Steve. I'm the bassist.
And today on the Lipstick panel, we're doing another movie commentary because, the Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park episode is our most popular episode for whatever reason.
This episode features the special guest, Carter the dog. This is his last guest episode.
Yes.
As his dad is moving.
Steve's roommate is leaving, so the dog is leaving. So for those who missed those jingling collars in the background, this is the last time you'll hear it.
And for those of you who are like Lipstick super fans who are like, I wish I could just move in with one of the members of the band. Well, there's an opening now.
Yeah, so
Greg did it with Regdar and the Fighters, and it panned out pretty well.
it was pretty great. I was just a big fan of Steve, and then I moved in with him and became his best friend. So you too can be Steve's best friend.
You might have
And
to
then I have
physically
to
fight
fight
Greg
you.
for it.
Yes, you'll have to fight me for it.
With all the moves he's about to learn from Batman in
And
3,
2,
2,
1.
1, play movie.
Yes, we're starting the DVD. And there's the Joker saying that the movie's starting.
Random bump at the beginning of it, because, you can't just go straight into the film.
Of course not. So, 10th anniversary of The Dark Knight. That's why we're doing this episode.
Oh, okay.
It's
10th anniversary of me watching it.
I saw this movie 10 times in theaters.
I saw it once in theaters, and it was pretty sure in theaters.
I saw it opening at midnight and thought it was awesome. Then the next day at school, I had some friends who were like, do you want to go see The Dark Knight? I'm like, you know what? It was fucking awesome. Yeah, I'll go again.
Right.
And then just friends kept inviting me to go. And I just loved it. I was full on with the hype. I'm like, yeah, this movie's fucking rad. I'll watch it again. And then once I got to 7 times, I realized, I'm this close to double digits. I might as well just go all the way. So I didn't want to see it those last 3 times, but I just did to say I did.
Slogged through it.
But 7 times, legit, total enthusiasm. We got that Hans Zimmer score that just sounds like a buzzsaw.
Right.
Those just notes grinding together, building tension. I have really mixed feelings on this kind of score. I think it works well for the film, and ultimately I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but I don't know if I like it all the time.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, certain film scores work for certain films. Like, you wouldn't want to... Well, shoot, why am I spacing on the name? Dude always works with Tim Burton.
Danny Elfman.
Yeah, you wouldn't want a Danny Elfman score for this kind of film.
I actually would have. I think Danny Elfman is the greatest of Batman scorers.
Oh, yes.
And think about
he did do that one.
The Batman March is so much better than the Nolan Batman theme. It's a better piece of music. It is Batman. And I think, one of the problems with the Nolan Batman films is that it doesn't feel like Batman so much, at least like the character himself. Like when you watched the Batman Begins, like Batman's origin felt very sincere and everything worked, but as soon as he became Batman, the movie kind of fell flat for me. But like all the training stuff, like, yes, this is, the part of the character we haven't seen before.
Batman's a ninja!
But I think the gothic aspect is a really important part of the character that the Nolan films kind of lost.
Yeah, that's true. They traded goth for grit.
Right, and I mean, look, this is the best live-action Batman movie, so it worked out okay for him. And I mean, this sequence we're watching right now,
right?
I mean, this is one of the greatest film sequences ever. All the betrayal, the tension, it's well shot. I think this was in IMAX, and just everything about this, just so well paced. Another great thing about this film is there's so many little characters who have maybe just a scene or two, but they have so much personality, and you think they're a major character because everyone has so much personality.
This is an interesting movie because I had not seen any Heath Ledger films prior to this. I was
Oh, speaking of personality, this guy. This guy, such a great performance for just such a small scene.
Right? Random dude with a shotgun in the bank.
Yeah, he's clearly tied to the mob and just doesn't mess around.
yeah, like dumb middle schooler me was like, Heath Ledger, he's the gay cowboy eating pudding guy. And then I saw this movie and was like, oh, okay, turns out he was actually pretty great.
I mean, I kind of had no opinion on Heath Ledger. A Knight's Tale was okay, and so was 10 Things I Hate About You, but I didn't think he was...
Oh, I did watch 10 Things I Hate
I
About You.
didn't think he was an actor's actor. I just thought, like, he's just, your average teen pretty boy. I didn't think much of him. I thought a Brokeback Mountain, like, hey, it's a brave role, but I thought any pretty boy could have done that. But this movie just showed the guy was a talent. Like, this is one of the best film performances ever.
It's hard to tell who's talking in this scene.
Well, I that's part of the cleverness of it, because you slowly start to realize as the audience he's the Joker.
Yeah.
Like, it's it's unraveling before you're like, oh shoot, he's Heath Ledger. Like, you figured it out. And also, like, great comic timing.
Yeah.
Like, he's threatening and funny at the same time, which is, like, perfect for what you want with this character.
Yeah. Huh.
And man,
Why would you not pull that bomb out of your mouth as soon as you see that there's a string going to it? I mean, he's got hands still, right?
I mean, he might be too weak to move.
He's strong enough to yell. His tongue still works. He could shove it out.
But man, I will say this. This is like an example of an actor disappearing in the performance.
Yeah.
Where just you don't even see Heath Ledger. You just see the character.
You see this weird, funny-looking Joker.
Oh, so this news anchor, freaking the nerd from the Breakfast Club.
Nice. Turns out everybody in this film was just a bunch of 80s rom-coms.
Also, you know what's really weird? Nerd from the Breakfast Club looks exactly like the Cobra Kai guy, William Zagba. Like, they look the same now. So, like, the nerd from the 80s and, like, the jock from the 80s are just the same person now.
I mean, everybody gets old.
Yeah, but they're, like, both in good shape and kind of broy. Like, maybe Breakfast Club guy started listening to Poison and Rat and got a Camaro. By the way, we're a hair metal band. If you like that kind of music, check us out.
We'd have no songs about Batman, but,
Yet. Have a song about The Flash, DC.
It's true. I think one of the great things about Nolan's Batman is that, he really did some interesting new things with the whole character. And he did it right at the time when superhero films were, partially due to his influence, were starting to actually gain
good.
Cultural cachet, right? They're like, we started to realize that these are real stories that, can be really interesting. There's, value to superhero films. And so, right about then was also when the backlash against the very core idea of Batman started happening, as people began to realize, actual armchair economists read the stories and were like, hold on, everything that Batman accomplishes by punching criminals would be better accomplished by, him using his insane wealth to make the city better. The first one of this trilogy addressed that with, neoliberal Batman's parents had built this great subway or this great train system that allowed the working class of Gotham to commute more easily, and just life got better. And they even
Well,
You know,
in
the
fairness,
bad
they,
guy talks about that, like, the city should have been destroyed years ago if it weren't for those neoliberal Waynes.
well, in fairness, they do address that a lot in the comics too, where Bruce Wayne is very much a philanthropist.
Yeah.
And what I'll say about, when you're talking about the movie doing new things for Batman, I think it did new things in film, but this
Yeah.
was all from the lore.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't really anything that wasn't already in the lore in some form or another.
Yeah.
So I will say I never really cared for the fighting style of Nolan's Batman. That weird like elbow combat.
Yeah.
I know he was going for something very unique, but it doesn't really feel like Batman. It felt like he's trying hard to do something unique as opposed to just something that feels appropriate for the character.
Yeah. Well,
Ooh, that had to hurt.
Batman fighting is a fundamentally difficult concept. Because you've gotta I would say there are three separate things that you're having to wrangle against, especially in something that's going for like the dark and gritty feel.
Mm-hmm.
Is you're trying to go for combat that looks interesting on film. There's four things. Combat that looks interesting on film, combat that's true to some of the ideas of the comic books, combat that isn't so gritty that it's clear that Batman's murdering people, because that's pretty against the idea of the character. And four, all of that has to work while your actor or stuntman is wearing a heavy rubber suit that doesn't move much.
Well, I mean, they sort of addressed it with this movie by giving him a more mobile suit. And in the Batman v Superman movie, I haven't seen Justice League, but like the action sequences were perfect.
Except for all the murders.
Well, right, but in terms of like his fighting style, like it was great.
Okay. Which of the actors was it that he was doing an interview about being Batman, and he said that you just instinctively talk in the Batman voice as soon as you put the cowl on?
That was what Christian Bale said.
Yeah.
I will
can't
say
not talk like this.
this is actually the single biggest flaw of the movie is Christian Bale's Batman voice. I don't think it's very good. I think this is a perfect movie aside from his Batman voice. Like, I'm nitpicking about the fighting style, but I can live with it. But like that voice is one thing that I will say is just bad. It was a bad decision. I think he sounded fine in Batman Begins, his Batman voice, but I think he went too over the top with this.
I'm Batman.
Like versus like it sounded more like the Kevin Conroy Batman, where it was some grit, but it was like a very low baritone kind of bassy voice. But it still sounded full versus this just sounds raspy.
Yeah.
And so it's harder for me to take it seriously, but also
Part of suiting up as Batman is smoking 2 packs of cigarettes.
the best Batman movie doesn't have a Batcave.
I mean, this is a Batcave.
I mean, it's a Batcave, but Wayne Manor's been destroyed, so this isn't the official Batcave.
Right. Off-brand Batcave.
So I actually like the comment about the tiger because it brings up, a good point about how realistic they're making this movie.
Yeah.
Because a tiger would have been what they would have done in the comics and been
Right.
more interesting. And you look at the dogs and they don't actually look that intimidating on film.
But yeah, a dog that big taking a chunk out of your arm. If you're unlucky,
Yeah, because like
you're like, I hope you enjoyed that arm while it lasted.
if you think about it in terms of like IRL, you're like, oh yeah, that is terrible. If you've ever been mauled like a dog by a dog, I have been. It sucks. So I get it. Oh, this is a great bait and switch scene. Spoilers if you've seen the movie, but also why would you watch a commentary without having seen the movie?
Hey, that movie that came out 10 years ago that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah. Thanos kills everyone. Oh, sorry, I'm spoiling a comic from 10 years ago, not the movie. I haven't seen it. Man, Aaron Eckhart nailed it in this movie. This guy is the unsung hero of this movie. Like, honestly, the movie is his arc.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, that's why it's called that, because it's the Batman is the Dark Knight against Harvey Dent, the White Knight.
Also, freaking Eric Roberts also nails it in this movie, like as Maroni. Like, great performances. But man, like that is bait and switch right there. Because, there have been previous iterations of Two-Face where the scarring happens in the courtroom.
Yeah.
So you're like, holy crap, is this about to happen? But they just, make him out to be a badass and make you instantly like the character.
Yeah.
Like, he is instantly likable. And I will say, one of the things, I noticed from multiple viewings of this movie and really dissecting it is you can watch this entire movie and up until, like, the part where he turns into Two-Face, he's like, you love the character, but they actually are slowly feeding you hints about his dark side throughout it. Where they talk about how people call him Harvey Two-Face because he's, like, willing to lie and deceive, when he's in internal affairs and, like, will trick people in order to, like, bring them down. And, there's little bits of dialogue that reveal, like, him being, like, a little bit more sociopathic.
Interesting.
It's very
it's a
clever
weirdly
writing.
laid out office. I love that everyone's just like waving around these slightly radioactive dollar bills. How much of a terrible bait and switch would that be? Like, his face gets mutated from
the bills?
Some cancer from those irradiated bills he handled early in.
That...
Also, Commissioner Gordon is sterile. There will be no Barbara Gordon.
There is no way they would do... Like, Chris Nolan cannot write that poorly. Also, I will say this, in terms of, like, we're talking about character voices earlier. If you listen to Jim Gordon's voice from Batman Begins, Gary Oldman, versus his voice in Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, his accent for the character got way better. It sounds really forced in Batman Begins if you go back and listen to it.
Wait, Commissioner Gordon's first name is Jim?
Yes.
Oh.
And at this point, he's not commissioner. I think he's lieutenant?
He's Commissioner Gordon. I don't care what his rank is. He's
right, but
Commissioner Gordon.
He becomes commissioner later in the movie.
I mean, I know that. But he's Commissioner Gordon.
That's fair.
That's like saying that, like, Bruce Wayne isn't Batman at the start of Batman Begins.
Oh, all right. Yeah, but the thing is, he was not Commissioner Gordon for an entire movie and a half.
Yeah, it was confusing. Why does Commissioner Gordon have the wrong rank?
All right, so here's also something that is hilarious in retrospect. Now, when I first saw this movie, I thought the whole Hong Kong vignette was really unique and fun.
It looked really awesome until you thought for 3 seconds about how he just, extrajudicially extradited somebody.
No, I'm fine with that, because that's like Batman's thing.
Batman's modus operandi is violating international law.
Right, but here's the thing. Like, I've since done a bit of research into the industry and have found out that a lot of movies will insert random bits in Hong Kong and China just to increase box office draw in China because people like when their home country is represented.
Nice.
So that's why they did it. Like, if you watch all these recent movies, like, why is this in China all the time? It's because they're trying to sell tickets to Chinese audiences, but this was at the forefront of it. This was sort of like before that became the popular thing to do. So The Dark Knight was like leading the path in so many ways.
Film in Toronto because it's cheap. Film in Beijing because it draws out the Chinese audience.
But like it works for the plot. Like what it does is it lulls you into a false sense of security about what the movie's going to be, because it looks like it's all just drama with the different mob bosses and crime and just the organized crime of the city. But then like
the long succession of heists.
But right, and it's a bunch of heists. But then like the Joker comes in and just wrecks the rhythm of it. And so the movie actually establishes a rhythm. And then the Joker disrupts the rhythm and forces everyone to adjust to his rhythm. And that's actually really clever, how you get locked into the groove of it and it then just takes that left turn. Man, what a great cat. Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine are in this movie.
Right?
Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, all actors. Like people actors look up to. They're like the Richie Kotzens and freaking Devin Townsends of acting.
Nerd.
Yeah, I went there. By the way, Steve looks like Devin Townsend. He's nowhere near as skilled, but way catchier. So if you realize, I wish Devin Townsend was just more accessible. That's Steve.
I sound almost nothing like Devin Townsend in any of what I do, other than overly convoluted production.
I love
hero, live yourself long enough to be a villain.
I love that they're just like blatant philosophical conversations just discussed by the characters in the movie.
Right?
I'm totally fine with that. I know some people find that cheesy. I think it's good. I think they're posing questions. And hey guys, in real life, do you have friends?
Right?
Like friends and people
do that kind of thing.
They talk about that.
I mean, Christopher Nolan's Batman takes place in a post Kevin Smith world, so that sort of dialogue is totally on the table.
Yeah. But it's like it's realistic. Like Steve and I have had many philosophical conversations. So it's like it makes sense that if someone is that emotionally invested that they're going to wear a bat costume or single-handedly take on the mob as the DA, you might like be passionate about it and want to chat.
The CRT.
Oh, and here's another great example about the Joker disrupting rhythm. Like, notice the rhythm of the scene before the Joker arrives and then after.
Yeah. Business meetings. You have to interrupt them with SWAT raids.
Also, Michael Jai White, great. He's Spawn and Black Dynamite. One great movie and one pretty bad movie, but wasn't his fault.
Which one is which?
Black Dynamite is a great movie. That is an S-rank film. That is one of the best movies ever made.
Okay. Because I enjoyed Spawn.
It's Spawn you enjoyed because you liked the comic and you're just like, I just want this to be good even though it's not.
No, middle school me just was like, everything in this is awesome.
Now, here is everything is awesome right here.
Just stabbed a pencil into the table.
Well, like, what was great about that moment, like, the entire theater laughed, but it was uncomfortable laughing.
Yeah.
Like, this is funny, but I'm also horrified. And that is like the brilliant duality of the Joker. And ultimately, like, this movie is all about dualities. The duality of the Joker being funny and terrifying, Bruce Wayne's duality, Harvey Dent's duality. That is the theme of this film.
So interesting when there's a
Also-
couple of scenes where like the Joker always seems a little nervous. Like
What?
he's got these elaborate plans that depend on all of these moving pieces that he's not really in control of. And he just hopes that it works out the way he intended it to.
I just realized this is a supervillain that's asked if, hey, did your balls drop off? Like, you're not going to hear that in a Marvel movie. Did your balls drop off? Thanos isn't going to say, did your balls drop off?
That's because Marvel knows they can't sell it. You could picture other DC movies doing it, though. Superman, did your balls drop off?
And here's another thing I'm going to say. People are complaining about dark and gritty. Like, dark and gritty done well
Right.
is this movie.
Right. Dark and Gritty done well is this movie. Dark and Gritty not done well is, Dawn of Justice.
I mean, I think Dawn of Justice is, underrated. I think people are too harsh on it because of just the time it came out. And just, everyone expects it to be a Marvel type situation. But that's a whole other discussion.
Whole other 3-hour conversation.
Whole other 3-hour conversation. But the thing that I would say is dark and gritty is where Batman should be.
Yeah.
You can argue that
Or
Superman or other characters shouldn't be there, but Batman, dark and gritty, that is where he shines the best.
Yeah. Batman can work really well, dark and gritty. Can work really well. Oftentimes does not. I've not heard anything good about The Killing Joke, for example.
Once again, I think people are way too harsh on it. Because, they changed the source material. It's like, man, whatever.
So the source material had its issues.
Yeah.
To be fair, the only truly great panel in that comic is the last one. When it's not entirely sure if Batman is, hugging or choking the Joker. Harvey Dent, can we trust him?
Oh, man, so many great scenes. Just these three, heavyweights together.
Right? Batman's so bored right now. He's like, I just want to punch crime in the face, you guys.
The thing is, the dialogue they're saying right now is actually super important for later in the movie.
Right.
It seems like throwaway, but those characters that they're mentioning actually are part of this domino effect. You can completely miss it, but there's this movie is so well written. And also, one of the writers on this was one of the writers on Batman v Superman. So you know what? Y'all need to chill on that movie. Give it another watch. And get out of your butt that you need Superman to be bright and cheerful all the time. Just get that out of your butt. So I kind of want to take Morgan Freeman's dialogue from Shawshank and overplay it Bruce Wayne's prison arc from Dark Knight Rises. Prison ain't no fairy tale.
Just have him narrate the entire thing?
Yeah.
Just try to avoid being stabbed or shot, Bruce.
There are so many people who thought that line was about Catwoman and overanalyzed. That means Catwoman's in the next movie. And she was, but I feel like that was more a joke.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably an intentional joke that they were like, let's reference Catwoman, just because that's always the thing.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of people who think that the character of Mr. Reese is supposed to be the Riddler because he's all about, like, deducting Batman's identity. And Mr. Reese, mystery.
Ah, yes.
Alfred is on that boat cranking warrants, Cherry Pie. So I guess this movie answers the question who would win in a fight, Spawn or the Joker. But also, I refuse to believe Black Dynamite would lose to the Joker, so this scene just isn't canon.
Dun, dun, dun. Why not so serious? I've never really liked the scar design on the Joker.
You know, I didn't either, but one of the things I will say, you know, apologies for being quiet during that. It's not really good podcasting, but it's such a good
intense
performance.
Scene. You can't just like talk over it.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
is,
like
this is a poor choice of a film, Greg. There's so many good scenes where we're just gonna be like, let's just watch this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking over a lot of it because we're mainly a podcast and less of a commentary thing. Unless you want us to be quiet more, in which case, let us know in the comments if you liked the Kiss Phantom episode better when we were more doing a commentary versus this is kind of like a podcast watching a movie. Let us know what you like better. But
like and subscribe.
But with the scars, I think it works so well with this iteration of the Joker where I don't like it overall, and I wouldn't want them to repeat it. But it works so well with this movie.
All right, so
and the thing I wanted
live action Jokers, which one has the least shitty looking face?
You know, it honestly, it's this one. This is the best live action Joker, which I didn't think upon seeing the design. Like, if you just look at a picture of it, it's not the best. But when you look at the like movement of the character, the actor, it's perfection. And one of the great things this movie got right was that don't give the Joker an origin that ruins the character.
Right.
Like the whole Red Hood shtick, terrible. The Joker is just meant to be a chaotic force of nature.
You know, the more I think about it, if you got rid of the face tattoos, Jared Leto's design would be the best one of the live action ones.
Right, but that's a part of it.
Yeah, the facial tattoos are bad.
And the gold teeth.
Gold teeth I'll let slide because those are cartoony, I think, in a way that works. Or, shoot. 60s Batman. Caesar something?
Caesar Romero with his mustache.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the mustache isn't great. I was thinking, like, the one that tries hardest to be true to the comics is Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. Well,
and that is a garbage design for it.
I think the problem is, I think Jack Nicholson was just too old?
No, I think it's because they tried to mimic the facial perspectives or the facial features of a comic, which doesn't work. Like, comics are an exaggerated form of art. Like, people don't look like real people in comics. And so the Joker looks great with his weird contorted face and his super wide lips in the comics. But as soon as you try to paste that onto a human face, a real human face, like they did with Jack Nicholson, it does not work.
I like it. I think it looks great. I adore those first two Tim Burton Batman films. Like, visually, I find those films to be perfection. And I know they're flawed movies, but dude, I love them so much. And when we're talking about good action sequences, man, this is one of the highlights of the movie. People forget about this bit because it doesn't involve the Joker, but this is such a good sequence.
The heist number 2,
right? But it's, Batman flying over the skies of Hong Kong and just whooping ass. Like, this might be the best action scene in the movie. Like, I think the heist might be the best. No, the heist is probably the best action scene, but this is another great one. Yeah, I would say this is easily the most underrated scene in the film because it's always forgotten, never talked about.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about it just because of the geopolitics of it.
Well, they talk about it now, now. But, like the Joker said, Batman knows no jurisdiction.
Yep.
Like, look at that shot.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous. That is cinema perfection.
And that's about 50% of the video games since this film came out.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you're just Batman wingsuiting over the city.
Like, think about how much influence this film had. And, like, how many films are trying to chase what this achieved.
Yeah.
But also how Marvel has avoided this film like the plague. Like, they do not want to acknowledge this film at all.
Which is fair, because Marvel is great at what they do, which is not what this film is doing.
Right.
So they're being smart. They're playing it the way
they
should.
They are being smart about it. But I think there are lessons from this film that they maybe could incorporate. Like, I think there's just, in terms of just good storytelling.
Yeah. If the next time they do a Punisher, the next Punisher is a TV show, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't keep up with it. But the thing is, this story that they're telling and these characters are better than any Marvel movie. It's just, it's the development is more compelling. And not to say that there isn't good stuff in the Marvel movies, but I think like they would never tell a story this ambitious.
Yeah.
Also come from a guy who hasn't seen Infinity War, and they were like, "Have you seen Infinity War? You're wrong. You're wrong." Like, whatever. I know Thanos kills everyone. I read the comic like 20 years ago. Remember when people got really upset with me about just hinting about spoilers on the internet?
Yep.
I didn't even say anything, but like, hey, does Thanos do that one thing he's famous for in the movie? And then everyone got upset with me. Like, hey, did Gwen Stacy die in that Spider-Man movie?
Ooh.
Oh, spoilers.
Spoilers for something that's happening 15 times. Do Bruce Wayne's parents die? Yes.
All right, so Maggie Gyllenhaal, also great in this movie. I think, Katie Holmes freaking out and hanging out with Tom Cruise and not being in this movie was ultimately to the film's benefit because she's a much better actress.
Yeah. Wearing a lot of makeup. Suave. I should probably make fewer jokes that are dependent on people actually like listening to the film at the same time.
I mean,
With
I
very
think
specific
that's
timing.
the theory of what you want to do is watch the film at the same time.
Look who's Mr. Fancy has 2 screens going on right now. Fortress of Solitude.
Man, like such good dialogue about like how everyone is corrupt in this city.
Yeah. Dun dun dun. Wow.
You know what?
Terrible.
I'm fine with it because, like, think about it, like, would a dumb cop say that? Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everyone got uncomfortable the first time they saw that.
Awful lot of counts.
That's a bit.
Justice. Is he just waving around a cigar cutter?
You know, he's fidgeting with it because that's what people do. They fidget with stuff.
It's
You
true.
fidget almost every podcast episode. You're questioning someone fidgeting with their hands.
It's just a very silly thing to fidget with.
If you like cigars,
I don't smoke in my office like an animal. So who'd win a fight? Harvey Dent or his character from Thank You for Smoking?
thank you for smoking character. But also, man, what I think that's the best jump scare I've ever seen in cinema.
Yeah.
Because you don't expect jump
you don't
scares from
expect
this
it
movie.
in Batman.
Right, but like it works for the Joker. Like it's not cheap at all. It is just exemplifying how horrifying and frightening this character is. And it breaks up the rhythm of the scene. That's what the Joker does. He's always about breaking up that rhythm.
Yeah. There's a scene where there's a plot going on, and then it's like, nope, Joker interrupted it, sucker.
Well, because like that scene was the mayor saying to Harvey Dent, you know, watch out. You know, people are going to come after you politically, and you're going to feel a lot of pressure. Oh, you know what's way worse than political pressure? A corpse. Oh, and this scene right here. Oh, I'm not even gonna. I can't talk over this. Sorry, podcast listeners.
Do you want to play a game? My name's Jigsaw.
Also, credit to Heath Ledger. He shot and directed this bit.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. The most horrifying moment in the movie is that. That is so frightening.
Dun, dun, dun.
Seriously, that's one of the best film scenes ever.
One of the best film scenes ever. That's a really interesting thing to.
And I'm at the point in my life where I'm really over the whole like greatest of all time thing.
Right.
Because, as a musician, you find so many great underground bands
Right.
who are on par with these big mega arena acts.
Right.
And so I'm sure there's so many great underground films that are on par with this.
Right. Whenever if I'm ever somebody ever asks me like compile a list of the top 5 scenes ever filmed, there's always going to be a part of me that's going to be like the last shot from The Great Train Robbery and Edison's man sneezing should probably be in this list.
Also, how freaking hair metal is Bruce Wayne in this trilogy?
Right.
Also, nice transition from douchebag to sincere.
I mean, yeah. He does a really good job of selling unlikable Bruce Wayne.
But he sells likable Bruce Wayne, like when he's out of the mask and being himself. I think Christian Bale is by far the best Bruce Wayne we've seen on screen. I think as a Batman, he's actually kind of bad. Like once the cowl is on.
He does a great Bruce Wayne because he does a really good job of like being like sort of intense and focused when he's with the people who knows what he's up to.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's like this obsessive person, and then he's just got this sociopathy that he turns on in public situations like this. He does a really good job of selling that. Like even when he's being authentic, like the end of that speech, it still sounds like he's just blowing smoke up people's asses and doing political maneuvering. Like just don't like him.
Right, but like with Batman Begins, his arc was so believable. I honestly think I'm going to blame Chris Nolan on this bit. If he had just given him better coaching on like, hey, your Batman voice sounds silly, don't do that, he would be by far the best Batman. But instead I give it to Keaton as far as live action.
Yeah, as far as live action, because and
Batfleck is good.
We all know that Batman the Animated Series.
Oh yeah, Kevin Conroy is the clear winner,
best canon for everything,
and Mark Hamill is the best Joker,
right?
But in terms of not Batman the Animated, this is as good as it's gonna get. For like in my lifetime, if I see a better Batman movie, I won't be surprised because I think humans can always do better.
Right. It'll be a decade or so. We've got some space.
But if I die and this is still the best Batman movie, I wouldn't be surprised either.
She's like, the mob's after you, a bunch of wealthy hobnobbers, that's fine. Oh, wait, half of them are mob connected, if not actively high-ranking characters in.
Man, this scene is also... Man, I know I'm just kind of blowing this movie at every scene, but this is another perfectly executed scene. Like, just the cuts back and forth, like, he's screwed, and the judge lady is screwed.
Right.
And so you're worried because they're cutting back to Harvey. Like, does that mean he's screwed too?
Those two people have had barely any screen time, and they weren't in any previous movies.
No, they were in the commissioner was in the last movie, so he was established.
Oh, but we know he has to be killed to give Gordon his job,
right? And then you've got the judge who's like, "Oh, she's taking on the mob. Yeah, she's going down."
putting Harvey Dent into a chokehold.
And also, why would you question what he's doing? He's probably doing Batman things.
I mean, she doesn't know he's Batman.
No, she does from the last movie.
Oh, does she?
Yes.
I love movie poison.
Yep.
Movie poison is never like realistic thing where it makes you sick over the course of several hours and maybe you dehydrate and die. It's always just like it's literally burning through the glass and you die in 30 seconds.
Yep. Man, he's brilliant.
Right?
Like that. Like it goes from horrifying to hilarious instantly, and just the way he's having here. Do you know where Harvey is? Do you know where he is? Like it's funny.
I like the way he's like just like snacking on things in a way that works really well for the actor shooting the scene, right? Because if they have to do more than one take, he's got to do all that again.
Yep.
So like he's like randomly snacking on things, but he's throwing half it on the ground. So 10 takes in, he's like, all right, I've eaten 10 cherry tomatoes and 10 sips of fake champagne.
But he threw out the champagne, so he didn't even take a sip.
Right.
Also, that guy who we just threatened there, U.S. Senator.
Huh.
He's made cameos in a bunch of different Batman movies. He's super into Batman.
Nice. It's a good enough reason to go into politics, I'd say.
Yeah. And once again, like the scar bit
Yeah.
is brilliant.
That's a good bit. Have you seen Ichi the Killer?
I haven't.
All right. I don't actually recommend seeing Ichi the Killer, but you've seen Audition, right?
I watched it with you.
Yeah. Okay. So same director.
You told me it was a slow moving drama about sad and lonely people in Japan.
Yes.
You liar.
It is mostly that.
It's true.
But he did another movie which was like honestly probably actually
I like how you were talking over the best bit in the movie. One of the best bits.
That's fine. You've seen it 10 times before.
More than 10 times.
But honestly, it was probably a fairly major influence on this film in that like the main antagonist in that film is a mob hitman who like has had his cheeks slit open about halfway up and he holds them together with piercings. And I feel like that was a much better his makeup was much better than the makeup in this one.
I don't know. I think the makeup really works. And also, I cannot see the scene without picturing the Guile music instead.
Which music?
The Guile music from Street Fighter. It is actually much better. Like this music is very generic and stock.
Right.
I don't really care for it that much. But like the
also,
actual
that
action
particular
of the
weapon was lifted from one of the Pink Panther films.
But also, I mean, he had it in the comics.
Yeah, that's fair.
What a perfect sequence.
That's a good bit of dialogue. Like I missed that the first time I saw this. Let her go. What a poor choice of words. Yeah, that really was.
Joker is great in this movie. But like this sequence is also so much more tragic when you think of it in the context of the narrative, where he, works so hard to save Rachel and succeeds in this scene, but ultimately fails in the end. Like it is so tragic.
Harvey's safe. I mean, I locked him in a closet and Joker's still up there doing whatever he wants.
I'm going to say another piece of brilliance in this movie is they cut out the bits that don't matter and allow you to fill in the gaps. Like this, they cut to the next day and they don't show how the Joker left the party or whatever, but you can just assume he, escaped somehow before Batman got back up.
I guess you have to assume that Joker decided to escape. Because otherwise, like, yeah, Batman would have gone back in there.
Yeah, so he went back in there and he was gone by then.
Yeah.
But I think, like, there are certain other parts of the movie where they do that too. I can't remember offhand. But, like, they cut out the bits that don't matter. So for a movie this length, they
Yeah.
actually trimmed out a lot of fat.
Yeah.
Another great scene. Just, like, this narrative that he is telling right now is interesting enough for a movie.
That's that old rule is make your story tell the most interesting story or the interesting event of the main character's life. And if that's not the most interesting event, if you allude to in a more interesting event, tell that story instead. Just want to watch the world burn. Now I want to do something really petty, like drink milk and orange juice at the same time or something. Brush my teeth first.
Eat pineapple on pizza. It's good. Salty and sweet works for a reason, you chumps.
I like pineapple and pizza.
You know, cuisines evolve over time. Get over it.
I do agree that olives on pizza are gross, but that's just because olives are gross.
I like olives on pizza as like part of a Supreme.
I don't do olives on anything.
Well, I mean, I like olives.
That's fair. Don't like olives, and I have no vendetta against alligators.
Like, I like...
need several minutes to violate police procedure.
Well, you know, but that's, you know, also part of the brilliance of this is, like, Gordon knowing that the police force is corrupt, and so he has to be corrupt and let Batman do his business.
Right.
Like, the reason why Batman is able to function is because you have a corrupt Gotham Police Department, and Gordon needs Batman.
Yep.
And, like, these films do such a good job of, you know, making Gordon an important character.
Yeah.
And, you know, this bit is nice because it's showcasing the detective bit of Batman, which most of the films don't really do.
Yeah, no, they tend to gloss over that. Because action star Batman's easier to film. Maybe not easier, but cooler.
But hey, you know what also did that well? Batman the Animated Series did a great job with Batman as a detective.
That's always the thing with TV shows, is they have a lot more room to breathe.
They did it in Mask of the Phantasm, they did in the movie.
Oh, nice.
Like, they had him analyzing the piece of glass and the residue on it and the chemical compound it was, like, composed out of.
Nice. Reasonable ask.
Great scene. Just Morgan Freeman knocking out of the park. And this guy, I don't know his name, and I feel bad about that. But also, he does great reacting to that. Where it's like, you know what? Yeah, blackmailing Batman / Bruce Wayne, probably bad for me because he will mess me up.
Dun, dun, dun.
Good foreshadowing.
Oh, yeah, this is that thing. I didn't realize they'd foreshadowed that.
The thing is, like, this movie, I think a lot of it could seem like a Deus Ex Machina,
Yeah?
but like everything is alluded to. Like they build up everything.
Hmm.
Like it's just a movie that rewards you for paying attention and rewards you for multiple viewings. It's a really dense film.
Arkham. That song was definitely Frosty the Snowman for a second there. Frosty the Snowman. Brought to you by Volkswagen.
Hey man, you got to pay for the movie somehow.
It's true. Although, from what I
And
gather,
hey,
most,
it's not as bad as the original Spider-Man movie where he just shoves the Dr. Pepper can from the camera.
Yeah. From what I gather, most car sponsorships are literally just the cars that getting cars into your movie is a major portion of the budget a lot of the time. And so you partner with a car manufacturer, be like, look, you provide all the vehicles at no cost to us, and all the vehicles in the film will be yours.
So I know I haven't said this much in this commentary, but this is another great scene.
Mm.
I don't know, I love how bare the room is.
Mm. Vigilantes are the price of safety.
The timer going off. It's so good. And then the one scene in the movie where you see him without the makeup.
Yeah.
And you know what's so great about it? You can totally miss it. You can totally miss that it's the Joker.
Yep.
And then this right here, I thought he was dead. I thought they did. Like, shoot, they killed him before becoming commissioner. They just did that. Like, this is the kind of movie where you feel no character is safe.
Yeah.
Except Batman. You feel like Batman's probably going to make it through
Right.
most of the movie. And the Joker. You think he's going to make it through most of the movie. But everyone else, they're fair game to be a victim.
Yep.
Even Harvey Dent. Like, you could see him dying before being Two-Face as a possibility in this movie. Like, Nolan baiting and switching you seems very much like a possibility.
Although they did sort of foreshadow the, bulletproof vest thing, right?
They did foreshadow it. But it's also one of those foreshadowing things that you can easily miss. Like I said, it's a dense movie.
Yep.
Oh shoot, I think that's Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
Yeah, you guys are the crooked cops. Great line. Also, man, another great scene. Like Eric Roberts, just charisma, swagger. This music is pretty fun. I like the idea of Batman just beating the shit out of people in a dance club. This is awesome.
I mean, I love some of my favorite superhero movies as a kid were the Blade trilogy.
Yeah.
So
You're just waiting for blood to come out from the sprinklers.
Dude in Black beating people up to a strobe light and bad techno. I'm all about that genre. Brought to you by Dell. Bruce Wayne, can we trust him? The suit's very hot. I kind of go in and out.
Man, this scene is so great too. That's so metal. That is so metal.
Yep.
That's awesome. Eric Roberts, doing great in the scene. Christian Bale, terrible Batman voice, but his facial expressions are great.
Scary interrogation Batman. I feel like Christian Bale does an okay job of that.
I don't know, it's too silly for me.
I mean, it's silly, but Batman is a billionaire who dresses in a costume.
You know, will in suspension of disbelief. What breaks it for you? The voice.
Yeah.
Man.
They don't show it to be a loaded coin yet, do they?
Not yet. But also, I mean, that's a very clever, because they hint at it throughout.
Yeah.
Because he always makes sure that, like, it's the good guy that wins.
Yeah.
But also, man, like, what a great, like, neo-noir scene. Like,
Yeah.
the lighting in this. And since Two-Face really is, like, a noir character.
Legitimate ray of light. I'm an illegitimate.
Buy cigarettes.
Brought to you by Marlboro.
Alright, so I'm going to say this scene's just good.
Yeah. This scene's only pretty great. It's
It's-
not
It's like when we did
brilliant,
that
one of the
Rest in
great-
Peace episode, and Joe and Caleb were like, "This song is, only amazing, but not like mind blowing best song ever like these other 4 songs." So
Good-
really, this is my
Good
Rust
thing I
in
actually
Peace.
enjoy this film. Imagine how tedious this episode would be. It was like, I guess this scene's fine. I mean, they kiss. That's kind of gross.
Ew, affection.
Ew, cooties. Where does he get like these custom carrying cases for batarangs?
I mean, the idea is he has different companies make them.
Yeah,
Like they addressed that in the first movie.
it's true they did. But when it comes to things like custom fitted styrofoam cases for the batarangs,
Christopher Nolan had to take the time to make that and decided was a prop.
yep.
So he had to take the time to think, is this reasonable?
Well, maybe not him specifically, but somebody in the crew did.
Yeah, and he still had to do the shot. Like, do you think he's going to let second unit do a scene with Christian Bale?
Yeah. Haha. Told him.
Great shot, hilarious line,
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, the movie has full on shifted into the mob is no longer the bad guy.
Right? Things are worse than ever. It's probably because the Batman sort of fundamentally escalates things.
Man, he is such a likable character in this movie.
Right?
It makes his
That's
fall
sort
that
of-
much more tragic.
Sort of his whole shtick is he's a very charismatic man who's able to sell very charismatic, if a little bit like sociopathic. I wish there were more punks in Gotham. There'd be the one person who'd be like, no more dead cops, and somebody else would be like, millions of dead cops.
So one of the things, rewatching this movie, I'm actually getting something new out of this scene in particular. His speech does not sound like a guy who is Batman. And then he claims he is Batman.
Yep.
Like, that is very incongruous. Oh, they use the T word. Terrorist.
Terrorist.
I mean, think about, like,
Yeah, I mean, no, he's
7 years after 9/11, like, it was still pretty fresh in the American psyche.
Yeah.
And also the horrors of when you trust someone too much after terrorism.
Yep. You suddenly let them violate a bunch of international law and invade foreign nations. Abduct foreign nationals and bring them to your own soil and torture them for information that they probably don't actually have.
I mean, look. This is the best pro-Bush movie ever made.
It's true. Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to convince someone George W. was fucking great, show him Dark Knight. Like, Batman is George W. Bush. Like, all right, I'm down.
Like, I know you want to close Gitmo, but have you seen Batman?
Also, the bits with the front of the armored car. it's brilliant because they set up all those other small characters, those vignette characters. And so you think the front of the car guy is just another one of those vignette characters.
Yeah.
But it's just meant to give you a hint that Gordon is there.
Dun, dun, dun.
Reveal double-sided coin. I think this is maybe, aside from the bank scene, this is probably the most famous action sequence from the movie coming up.
Yeah, Ledger's Joker looks really good, just like awkwardly shambling through a scene that's exploding around him.
Yeah, I mean, he is a Joker that needs movement.
Yeah.
Like, if you're just looking at a picture, he's maybe not the most appealing, but in terms of...
Right. He's just, like, slouching and has bad makeup on. But yeah, when he's actually, like, moving and the character's in context.
And I had a friend in high school who complained that he didn't like the interpretation of the Joker as being this nihilistic.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is probably the truest representation of his character you will probably ever see.
Yeah.
Because, he's doing all this for the lulz.
You're right.
Man, like, all these vignette characters are so good. Like, they're these little guys who just, like, carry the scene.
Yeah.
Great shot. Man, just... It's just like the expressions and body movements are all just perfect, where, like, as ridiculous as the bazooka is, you're taking it seriously.
Right. Well, partially because it's the Joker's wielding it, and that's the sort of thing you believe from him.
Right.
You also half expect that, like, he's going to pull out a bazooka and it's just going to shoot out a piece of paper that says boom on it.
I gotta admire Chris Nolan for taking on this movie.
Yeah.
Because so many people said, why are you doing the Joker again? We already had the Joker with Jack Nicholson. Do a different villain.
Yeah.
But he had such a good take on this character, and Heath Ledger, such perfect casting.
Right. I sort of wonder
I
about,
don't like the Tumbler. I think that's a shitty Batmobile.
Yeah. I think the Batmobile always tends to feel a little gimmicky. But the Batmobile feels like a Bond car, pretty much however they handle it. If they feature the Batmobile, it's going to look like this shticky Bond car that, at best pulls out a bunch of magical gimmicks at worst pulls out a bunch of magical gimmicks to solve the problem, and at best pulls out a bunch of magical gimmicks that they telegraphed by explaining before they are used.
Man, now that is great because the Tumbler got destroyed with that. Blast that shitty thing with a rocket launcher. Yeah, I hate the Tumbler.
TheTumbler.com.
I mean, as far as Batmobiles go, the new one actually is kind of like a worse version of the Tumbler. So that one's pretty bad, and the one from Batman and Robin is pretty bad. But, like, 60s Batmobile? Great.
It's just like a classy-looking muscle car.
Yeah. Michael Keaton Batmobile, the best Batmobile. Which
was the one that turned into the thinner car? That was in Batman Returns, right?
Yes, that was the Keaton Batmobile.
Yeah, that was super goofy.
Well, yeah, I mean, from a narrative perspective, I'm talking about, like, the design, the look of the vehicle. Like that 89, 92 Batmobile just is a work of art visually. and just when I think of the Batmobile, that's what I think of.
Yeah. Weird
Animated
gangly one.
series.
I mean, and this one is doing the same thing right here.
Right, it's doing the
which
same.
Is a stupid move.
Well, hey, you know what? I'm glad it's gone. Get rid of that shitty thing. Yeah, explode. Be the Bat Cycle instead. I'm fine with that. The Bat Pod. This is the Bat Pod. You're listening to it.
Bat Pod.
Yeah, and you know what? I like the first Schumacher Batmobile from Batman Forever. Like, yeah, in retrospect, it's really phallic, but you know, hey, it was a cool car. I liked like the blue glowy stuff. That was cool.
I like that he's knocking off everyone's windows. I mean, everybody's mirrors in that.
Oh yeah, you're talking about what we're actually watching. You know, this is a trope. It works fine in this scene, but I'm kind of over it. Where they show the little kids witnessing the superheroes.
Yeah,
I've seen it so many times that I'm burnt out on it.
Yep.
But also, I recognize that kids who are watching the movies, that's probably the first time they saw that trope,
right.
Because they haven't existed that long. And how many of them are going to sit down and watch the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy?
All of them. All of them should. At least the first two.
Man, you know what's weird about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3? Like, Spider-Man 3 contains one of the best scenes in the trilogy, where he's fighting Sandman in the sewers, and he's just, like, pissed off and wants revenge and is wearing the black Spider-Man suit. That's actually a really emotional, well-done scene, and you feel the tension, you hear the cry in Tobey Maguire's voice, and the rest of the movie's so bad.
See, I was going to say the dance scene.
Of course you were. So first time I saw the semi-flip, I wasn't impressed by it. But I think that's because I'm a guy who's into Dragon Ball.
Right.
And just like over-the-top ridiculous stuff. But in terms of the grounded world they're setting up for this,
right,
that is actually really epic.
And you think of how they actually like would have pulled that stunt off.
Right, because it's not CGI.
Did you ever play the game Stuntman?
No.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm enamored by like the movement of Heath right here.
I highly recommend it. It's super fun. It was a...
Oh, yeah, no, I played Stuntman.
Yeah. Like, loading times aside, loading times were awful in that game, but it was like they actually taught you some of the physics of how they do stunt driving in movies, and there's a lot of cool stuff in there.
Ah, so good.
Yeah.
Also, but Batman, you should have just, like, slowed down. Like, there were better options for this situation, Batman.
Yep. Well, I mean, this whole interchange between the two of them is all about the Joker's attempts
to break him,
to break and tempt the Batman. So and if there's never any breaks in the Batman's facade, in his veneer, then clearly it's he's not working. It's important for there to be cracks in the Batman.
And
that's a crack.
It's a crack, and it's a very cool thing because like the Joker is the one guy who can bring out emotion out of Batman.
Yeah. Thank you, detective. Second greatest detective.
Also, man, this scene is so dark in retrospect because she's sending him off to his death.
Does she know?
Yeah, she knows. Look, the look on her face. She's one of the corrupt cops. And the guy who was driving was the guy who brought the Joker up to Bruce Wayne's party and then was shoved to the ground. He was the guy holding his badge up. That's the same dude. And you think he was forced into it, but no, he's corrupt. So many layers in this. Also, the mayor makes it through this movie, dies in the next one.
I missed clothing is custom. Joker sews his own clothes.
That woman shaking his hand knowing she just sent Harvey and Rachel off to their deaths. Why would you keep anyone in there with him?
Right?
Like,
yeah, it does seem like he should probably be in solitary confinement. He had so many knives. Probably missed a few.
Yeah, the dude is clearly a giant threat. Like, that is straitjacket immediately.
He just commuted back and forth. How long is his commute, do you think?
Let's say like 20 minutes.
Golly.
So it's like an hour.
He had a long night.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the idea, is like, this is a long, shitty night for everybody. Good comic timing. AKA my people.
Yeah.
I know we're being quiet for those who are just listening to the podcast. Heath Ledger's doing amazing performance stuff again.
Right.
If we're ever quiet, that's probably what we're...
Probably what's happening is one of the amazing actors in this film is doing amazing actor stuff. The good cop, also good cop. How did they sneak Batman in there?
The lights were off, he was standing there the whole time, then they brought him in. I like how they're talking at each other. They're not talking with each other.
Why are you trying to kill me?
Although now they're talking to each other. As soon as I say that.
Right.
How many copies of Jerry Maguire do you think the Joker has? Do you think he's the one trying to save the Jerrys?
Save the Jerrys. Gonna make a video store in the desert. Whose makeup is sillier? Batman's or Joker's?
Oh, what, the eyeshadow?
Eyeshadow.
honestly, have you seen like the outfit without that eyeshadow? It
Yeah.
looks really ridiculous.
It does.
Now this is where the scene, the tension just builds up. Shoving the chair at the door, not letting anyone else in. Like, this is where pure emotion takes over. All logic is gone. He just like, I love that woman. And you know what? Batman voice is working. This is
right.
Like this is working here. The other scenes coming off the ceiling, no, this is perfect. And like that Hans Zimmer just tension rising chord in the background. The vacuum cleaner.
It's another one of those scenes where like Joker looks really nervous. Like he doesn't actually know which way the scene is going to break.
But I think he's having fun with it. Like, he's just getting a kick out of, like, he doesn't know if he's going to succeed, but he's just having a ball. Also, what's great about this, Batman is going, pure on emotion. Like, I love this woman. I'm going to rescue her. It makes more sense to rescue Dent. It's better for the city. But this is the woman I love. I'm going after her, which is beautiful. And then the Joker lies about who's at what address.
Right. However, what's the mechanism that stops them from saving each other, from saving both of them? Like, because if it's just a matter of time, they could get somebody to both those locations.
Unless maybe there's a trigger, like once you open one door, the other explodes sooner.
Yeah.
That'd be the only thing I could think of.
Film was really unkind to schizophrenics.
Oh, this scene is so good and so tragic. This is one of the most Batman scenes ever, just how tragic it is. This is perfection. Oh, this is painful. I'm getting teary-eyed, dude. I've seen this movie so many times. I know exactly how it's going to play out, and I desperately don't want to play out the way I know it's going to. Oh, goddamn. Oh, man. And you know that's just like, okay, Two-Face is happening, but you don't want it to. You don't want it to. You want him to break the cycle.
Oh, the stuff's all over half of my face. You've shot a ton of people, Joker.
He uses guns in a utilitarian sense. Like, if I have to, I'll use a gun.
Utilitarian sense. Whatever will cause the most suffering.
Right. Like, if I need to kill someone and I can't do it with a knife, I guess I'll use a gun. Oh, man. He is doing all the triggering dialogue.
Yeah. That piece of glass was in so many shots prior to this.
It was. And I didn't notice it until this viewing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that piece of glass was there.
I fell over. I'm
this
choking,
movie
I
is
guess.
fucking great. That is so brilliant. I'm still finding new things in this movie. Oh, so that just looks like something from Saw.
Right? Yeah.
And during that confusion, he just totally slit that dude's throat.
Yeah.
Because you don't see him in any of the other scenes in this movie or the next one. Dude just got his throat slit right there. And that's the moment where she realizes she's dead.
But yeah, like why? Yeah, there's no interaction between those two locations. There's no reason that they couldn't have deployed somebody faster.
I mean, unless they didn't have any units that way, and the Joker specifically picked locations where they didn't have any units available.
I
I think it's a bit of a stretch, but it does showcase him as the trickster.
Yeah,
and like having Batman choose Rachel and not getting that, like he made the choice and didn't get what he wanted. And people complain about like the Joker's plan going too perfectly.
yeah. Like the timing of it is pretty suspect. Just because like there was no way for him to control the timing of those bombs or the timing of those bombs relative to each other. He would have had to ensure that interrogation happened exactly the way he wanted it to,
or
to within a margin of 30 seconds.
I mean, he could have just had a really good sense of time and just, waited to tell them until the time was almost up.
But it seemed like once things started going, they started going very quickly. It's not so what if, the police had stalled for another 10 minutes before they started interrogating him?
He would have brought it up to Batman sooner in the interrogation.
But the interrogation didn't last 10 minutes.
Or he might have brought it up to Gordon. Or might have just announced it because he knew that he was being watched. So I think the idea
I feel like that would have been a real bummer version of his plan. If he's like, hey, by the way, I've planted these 2 bombs. You have time to go rescue either Rachel or Harvey Dent. Someone should go do one of those.
But I think the idea behind the Joker's plan is that they're meant to be insane, unreasonable plans that no normal person would allow to work because there's so many reasons why they should go wrong.
Maybe every single random person that he murders throughout the course of this movie, he has an elaborate plan that just like whatever random pieces didn't work. Like all of those bank robbers in the first scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was some whatever random reason, if somebody had interacted with him in the correct way, 1 or 2 of them would have survived in a, just heart-wrenching choice.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. Because that random thing didn't happen. Like it did in this case. The one case where it really mattered.
Oh man, now we're talking about this bit right here about whether it's better to perpetuate a positive lie or tell the brutal truth.
Mm-hmm. G.W. Bush. G.W. Bush.
But also, like, a lot of people complain about how The Dark Knight Rises negates a lot of the messages of this movie. But, I think that's the idea, is that, eventually the truth does come out. The truth is the truth, and that's just how it is.
Mhm.
And so I think it's like what they choose to do in this film as as thematic ideas work. And then the way the next film addresses them. People rag on that movie as being a piece of shit, but it's still good. Yeah, is it good as this? No, but it's hard to beat the top.
Mm-hmm. True identity of the Bateman. Harvey Dent, can we trust him? Dun dun dun. Used to call you Hitler. Brought to you by Purell.
Underrated performance by Eric Roberts in this movie.
Letting the clown out of the box.
This scene is straight out of the comics. Joker on a giant pile of money.
Yeah.
An asshole.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, he did live.
Yeah.
He's got the wound on his neck, but he lived. All right, I
Yeah.
guess I was wrong. Attention to detail. Man, the fire in the background looks like the Joker is like a demon straight from hell. You know what? I'm gonna just toss this out there. I can't think of a more horrifying villain for a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
and like
Hmm.
blowing up a hospital. Like everything he's doing is so evil.
Yep. Mm. Harvey Dent, can we trust him? There's always some jerk in a crowd with a gun.
Trying to remember what. Oh, he's trying to figure out which cop is gonna do it or try to kill him.
Mm. Yeah. So the trick is just this threat, since he's made it credible enough.
Right, like
Just the anarchy of, or the disorder of, you know, trying to evacuate all the hospitals. Gonna be,
in an hour.
yeah.
All right, we've been quiet for a while because the scene is really good.
It's intense. It's intense. Although the Joker did just shoot another dude. He shoots so many people for a guy who loves knives.
Like I said, it's about practicality.
It's probably
The Joker's a very practical anarchist.
it's probably about the fact that the movie is rated PG-13 and you can't show a lot of people being cut up with a knife.
I like the blood on the
Yeah.
pillow.
Yeah, the whole just like not getting grafts or anything on his face is kind of a silly thing. His face is destroyed and he's going to be bleeding everywhere, and he's blind in his left eye now because he's not blinking.
Yeah, it's a little bit silly, but they did what they could with the character. I like it that you can see the makeup on his fingers.
Hmm.
Sorry for being quiet, or
Right.
also maybe you're happy we're being
These are
quiet
the
because you
good
can just
scenes.
enjoy
Enjoy
the
them.
movie.
Although if you like this movie, I don't know, you can just watch this movie.
Right.
You don't need us talking over it. Nobody panics when things go according to plan. Yep.
Man, so is he gonna give him a Noam Chomsky book? Man, such a great scene. You know what? I'm gonna go on record. That's probably the best scene between two Batman villains live action ever. And just Joker pushing Harvey Dent to the limit.
Yeah.
Right up there with Danny DeVito as the Penguin making all those pussy puns with Catwoman. Just the pussy I was looking for.
Like, this is an example of him moving really well
Right.
against action.
And the thing is, I watched a documentary on this. They only had one take to do this.
Yeah.
And so I like this little bit that's coming up here is improv because he thought it was supposed to blow up more. So as he's like, that's
it. Disappointing.
that's improv, and then him on the bus and him like not breaking character, not looking at it, just like nodding and smiling. Did not break character. Like, you know, I'm more of a music and a writing guy. I'm not a guy who really appreciates the craft of acting as much because I don't really focus on it as much.
I do love explosions, though.
I do love explosions. That's why Michael Bay is the greatest filmmaker of all time. But even if you're not into film and acting, you have to recognize the brilliance of this performance. Like, anyone has to recognize that this is great. And you know, it's such a shame that, you know, we lost such a great talent.
Yeah.
Because I think, what would he have done after this? Because he had taken mostly lightweight, uninteresting roles before this.
Yep.
Had a couple good ones. Oh man, they got him. They got the Breakfast Club nerd.
Ha 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 ha.
Yep, here we go.
Yeah. This is the George W. was right scene.
You know what? This is actually a pretty brave thing to do. Because it's always like with 1984 has set you up with surveillance is bad, Big Brother is bad.
Mm-hmm. I feel
Also, this is great right there. That interaction between the two of them, so realistic of many dive bars.
like, oh geez, whiskey on my cheek. This really hurts.
Yeah, that's gotta. But, I kind of like the idea of him he's in constant pain, so he's constantly just, like, infuriated and on the edge, and that's probably affecting his mental state. Man, that last scene was so great. But also that shot of him behind the cameras or the screens.
Mhm. Yeah, see, this is one of the major philosophical stumbles in this film, I think. That whole thing, like, Fox is totally right about everything. Like, this is unethical. This is too much power, until they turn it over to him and say, only you can stop the Joker with this power.
Yeah, it's so tricky because
Yeah.
you think about it just on an intellectual level. You're like, yes, this is wrong. You should not do this.
Mm-hmm.
But also, we haven't dealt with like a Joker specific situation
Yeah.
where there is that limited time and the threat is very like obvious and like declared.
Yeah.
And so if it's that kind of situation and you have someone with this track record of success
Yeah.
and you know like he's contained within X location and you can spy on, it's not the entire planet or the entire nation, it's just contained within this X location.
Yeah.
Is that the ethical thing to do? Like, oh, you found out I have, porn on my phone, but you stopped the Joker from killing hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So
I guess the trick is, the ethical way to use a system like that is to figure out how to destroy that system forever while you're in there. It's like,
but it gets destroyed as soon as it's done.
Well, that's the trick, is he destroys that implementation of it. It's a proof of concept now. It can be done, which means he's got to, like, now he's got to sort of spend a bunch of time figuring out, like, all right, now that this thing happened once, how do we stop that from ever happening again? It's that, that FBI golden key that they wanted for all encryption, that all of the security people were like, nope. If you can have that, then anybody can have it, and then everything is doomed forever.
Also, another great scene here.
That was a pretty great way to deal with that one.
Yep.
I do like that aspect of Two-Face's personality, is that
he allows justice to be completely by chance.
Oh no, that like he always flips coins, but then he always like loads it to get the result that he really wanted.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, he did that as Harvey Dent too.
Yeah.
But also, think about the anguish he must have had in his face when he didn't kill the Joker.
Yeah.
Now, if there is a stumble in the movie, I think this might be it. Not because this is necessarily bad, but I think it drags on a little bit. This entire sequence with the fairies.
Yeah. Prisoner's dilemma.
But I'll say this. First, 5 times I watched it, I was sucked in, bought into it totally, didn't see the chinks in the armor. So if it took me 6 times watching the movie, I'd be like, you know what, that could have been cut by like 2 minutes. Still really good. Like, it's all nitpicky.
Yeah.
And once again, it's another example of like little vignette characters getting screen time. Like, this is really an ensemble movie. Like, Batman is in it, but he's not the driving force. You know, as I'm ragging on the scene for being one of the weaker points, we're so sucked into it that we're not even saying anything.
Right.
Man, this movie's really fucking good.
Bomb. I was reading from a script. Couldn't even memorize his own plot.
But I think it's great. It's showing the inconsistency of him as a character. Like, he is sometimes very scripted and sometimes off the cuff. Like, you never. He is chaos incarnate. Like, man, remember how I talked about what a terrible villain Broly was and how great the Joker is? We just watched the Broly movie and recorded that episode before this one. What a stark contrast in writing an insane character. Because at their core, they're both insane characters that are supposed to be agents of chaos. But also, I am thinking how Goku would just, like, instant transmission and one-shot the Joker. Fuck you, Ramirez.
Ramirez, can we trust her?
So there was a animatrix style series of shorts that came out before this movie, and Ramirez was actually one of the recurring characters in those shorts.
Yeah.
So I watched that before this movie, and it really helped build up her character.
Interesting.
It's not as good as the animatrix.
She has almost no dialogue prior to that, so it's sort of interesting. Like, I hadn't really noticed her the first time I watched it.
She actually has a little bit of dialogue here and there, and they do mention her by name several times. You see her in a lot of scenes, you see her facial expressions. And just through her face, you can tell she knows something if you rewatch the movie. Yeah. And I think I paid extra attention to her because I saw that. But even just in the context of this, there's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, Gary Oldman. Who would win in a fight between his character here and his character from Leon?
That looked cool. The glowy eyes. Reminiscent of the comics.
Yep.
And man, this is one of those scenes that's so great in the theaters because when you hear that voice going through the speakers, Morgan Freeman with the distortion,
Whoosh.
the subwoofers, like I'm usually not into that kind of thing, but it worked so well. It's it's so good. Also brilliant. Like
Yeah.
the guys in the clown mask are actually the hostages.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, don't go after them. And so then Batman is forced to fight the SWAT team.
Yeah.
Like that is, like, you know, what looks like him attacking them is bringing them down. It's like,
Yep.
you know, I was ragging on the action sequences. I think I'm just mainly ragging on like the choice of martial arts choreography. But like all this it's perfect. Like in terms of composition of a scene and like the narrative of the action. The narrative of the action is perfect. Maybe not necessarily the movement, but just like what each movement leads to as a story.
Just getting to see Batman beat the crap out of some doctors. Take him down a peg.
Like bad guys and SWAT, and like he needs to protect the SWAT team. Like there's so much going on here, and it's.
Yep.
But what's great is that even though there's a lot going on, you can still very clearly follow it. Like it's not so above your head. And then, oh man, the prisoner dilemma here.
Yep. He said that really quietly.
Well, I think he's reflecting.
Yeah.
I don't know
But
if
I'm just thinking the people in the back were like, you saying something up there?
Well, I think the idea is they're all arguing with each other. He's saying that like under his breath to
Oh, I
himself.
know, yeah.
That bit sounded like a video game dialogue when you like lose the level.
Right?
We got him. He's out of the game. And actually, some of the like voiceover stuff in that section sounded video gamey. Like,
yeah.
you know, clowns, drop your weapons, rescue the doctors.
Yeah, it's true. Like, you know, SWAT dialogue over radio is going to tend to sound that way in
But
general.
you know, I'm okay. I think that's part of the fun. Like, I want there to be a little bit of campiness in there.
I like that they have dogs back. It's a callback to early on in the movie again.
Yep. Joker's like, you know what? Yeah, just dogs. Go after him. I'm not messing with this. Batman's like, fuck these dogs.
I hate dogs.
But it's perfect because it shows that, like, the Joker isn't able to outfight Batman on his own. So he needs the help of the dogs. And, you know, contrasting their two fighting styles where the Joker earlier mentioned he was like a dog. The way he attacks him and just wails on him with that crowbar, which is, you know, what he uses to kill Robin in the comics.
Yep.
Spoilers.
But
also, he's not dead anymore, so not spoilers.
Fuck Batman. I haven't actually seen that trailer yet, even.
You know, I saw it without dialogue, or without audio. This guy. and the guy he's talking to, like the expressions on his face, and then all these minor actors are so great. Like the guy who's like, I'm gonna pull the trigger. And this is another awesome in theaters moment.
Yeah.
Right there, where he comes back and smacks him with the crowbar through the glass. You get the subwoofer.
Yeah.
That was a baller moment.
Right.
But like the thing is, that guy, one of the heroes of the film.
Right.
One scene, not much dialogue, one of the most memorable performances in the entire movie.
Right.
And you know, this guy too, because he makes the decision ultimately, I can't do it. Like you see a change of heart in his just face right there. Like
Yep.
there's an entire story arc just in his facial expressions in that one little bit.
Harvey Dent, can we trust him?
And of course, another great scene right here.
Right. Some dubious physics there. This speech became extra sad, with Heath Ledger's death.
You know, it's just one of those performances like Brandon Lee in The Crow. Like just those last roles that are just so
Yep.
like they tap into some part of the like zeitgeist of the human psyche. And it's a dark place. But also, you know, there's good statements about like sort of the eternal battle between Batman and the Joker and how it's
Yeah.
never really going to end.
Oh yeah.
There's so many layers to this scene in the context of the film, in the context of the personal lives of these guys, in
Mhm.
the context of just humanity. And that's the last scene of him in the movie. At this point, the Joker is no longer the villain. Well, he still is. He
Right.
still is the villain. But he's not present for the final battle. His presence is there, but, like, not him physically. Yeah, so many people forget, like, this is the final confrontation. It's ultimately Batman versus Two-Face in this final scene.
You only look me in the one eye because the other eye I don't have an eyelid. Can't see anymore.
Also, he knows who the favorite kid is. Figures it out.
Right. I mean, he turns out to be Joffrey, so it's okay. Let him go.
Man, this... it might be a different kid from the first movie. I know he was Joffrey in the first movie. I don't know if that's the same actor. This scene is so perfect.
Right.
This is his Shakespearean speech.
Don't vote on this one. We're not gonna do a Shakespearean retelling of this one.
Yeah, this film is already great. I
Right.
don't need to Shakespearean retell it. Ah,
Gut shot Batman.
this scene is so good. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Like, don't punish the word punish me. Like that, the ultimate punishment is killing your kid. Ah,
It's true. It's. Oh, it would have been fine anyway. Batman's like, it's a good thing I lift a lot of weights.
yep.
Oh, shoot.
Also, good thing I'm wearing padded armor.
Oh.
Otherwise, I'd be dead like that other chump. Now, a lot of people complain about, like, oh, he killed Harvey Dent. And it's like, he charged the dude. He didn't have any other option.
Yeah. Although it's still kind of a bummer to see Batman kill.
It is, but I honestly, I interpret it as him, like, not wanting to kill Harvey and hoping he would have survived the fall.
Yeah. It is a little more honest to show the actual results of Batman's quote unquote non-lethal combat techniques.
Also, Jesus pose. Never noticed that.
T-pose to show dominance. Batman. I think the problem is he can't breathe through his nose.
That could be a problem with the new outfit. Because they made a new outfit for the movie, and it was a plot point.
Yeah.
Also, we're talking about such minutia over this great scene.
Right. I mean, all the explosions are done, so is any scene after all the explosions are done really that great?
No, this ending is brilliant. This is a perfect ending to a pretty much perfect film. Like, any flaws are just, like, being a critical asshole.
Right.
That's great. The bat signal getting smashed. Alfred burning the letter.
Wait, what was the letter again?
It was Rachel saying to Bruce, like, hey, I'm actually into Harvey Dent and not into you anymore.
Hmm.
And this bit, people deserve to have their faith reward. He types in his name, and then the computer gets destroyed. And also, when you were talking about proof of concept before, if only Bruce and Lucius know about it.
Yeah. Yeah, security doesn't work like that, though. The only way to keep a secret between 3 people is to kill 2 of them.
Man, Batman just cannot get a break with dogs.
Those are some adorable police puppies. I like that he keeps the motorbike throughout the bat cycle throughout the rest of the film.
Well, he doesn't have time to get a new vehicle.
Right? A Dark Knight. Roll credits.
He's like full Zorro at this point.
Oh, it really does end with The Dark Knight. Roll credits.
Yeah. It's a brilliant movie.
Sure. It's also 11 o'clock at night. It's sleeping time, I think.
Yeah. That's our commentary on this classic film. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it with us. You know what? Do yourself a favor. As soon as you're done with this, watch it without us talking over it.
Watch it twice in a row. You got 5 hours to spend on Batman tonight, right?
Yeah, it's such a great movie. The only thing I want to say is, while it's on my mind, I will say the plot point of The Dark Knight Rises about how he just retired for 9 years or whatever. I thought that was a bit weak sauce. The idea of Batman being hunted by the police, I think, could have been like a more constant part of Bruce Wayne's life.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, minor nitpick, different movie. This movie's great. You know, thank you so much for joining us. We're Lipstick. Find us at lipstickgeneration.com. You know, listen to The Flash if you like DC Comics characters. We wrote a song about it. It's pretty great. All right, that's our episode. Have a good one, folks. Peace.
Peace.